While troubleshooting ignition problems, observe the sight glass to see if a flame is present. Gain access to the boiler by removing the screw and lowering the electrical panel. Uncover the electrical box and set this cover to one side. A thermostat call may be generated by using a jumper on TT1, a hot water call, or by turning up thermostats. In this video, I am using a jumper wire. Reset the error code before continuing testing. Tap the reset button twice. Disconnect the power, then inspect the air inlet muffler for dust and debris. Excessive dust or debris may indicate that the burner is plugged. Inspect the Venturi, making sure that both the flappers move freely. Ensure the vents are clear and the burner and combustion chamber are clean before proceeding. Cleaning instructions are at the end of this video. Remove and inspect the igniter. You're looking for cracks or excessive warping. The gap should be approximately 3/16 of an inch. This igniter is in good condition and can be reused. The ignition cable and igniter are one assembly. Test them together by measuring resistance through the cable to the plug on the igniter. Resistance should be approximately 1000 ohms. Turn off the gas so the igniter can be tested. Remove the igniter, allow it to hang by its cable, then observe for a strong spark. If no spark is detected, we will need to check for 120 volts to the ignition transformer. Start by removing the 120 volt connection to the transformer. Cycle the boiler through several ignition attempts and test for 120 volts. If 120 volts is not seen, trace the cable back to the main PCB. Then test at the PCB across the two contacts for 120 volts. Ensure the boiler is actively calling for heat and attempting ignition when checking for power at the control board. Next, inspect the flame probe. Remove the flame probe. The wire is part of the assembly. The portion with the 90-degree bend is the electrode and is what detects the flame. Look for severe warps or cracking of the insulator. Trace the wire back to the main PCB. Check for continuity. The resistance should be very low. Check the gas pressure on the gas valve using the line pressure test port. This port is the bottom center port. Loosen the screw 2 turns. Firmly attach the manometer and check the gas line pressure. For natural gas, this pressure must be between 4 inches to 9 inches. For propane, the pressure must remain between 9 and 13 inches. If the pressure does not meet these specifications, inspect the gas line feeding the boiler. Make any repairs as needed. Allow the boiler to attempt ignition several times. Typical gas pressure drops are in the range of 1 to 2 inches. Excessive gas pressure drops indicate a problem with the gas line or gas regulator feeding the boiler. If you do not see a pressure drop after multiple ignition attempts, test for 120 volt DC power to the gas valve. Remove the harness from the valve. Testing across the brown and blue wires, look for 120 volts DC for 3 to 5 seconds during each ignition attempt. Trace these wires back to the main PCB and test at the PCB if no power is present at the gas valve. Remove the connector, touch the meter leads to the 2 pins on the main PCB during the ignition trial. Reset any error codes to ensure the boiler is attempting ignition when doing this procedure. We have established proper spark, inspected the venting for blockages. We are sure there is a good gas pressure drop indicating a proper supply of gas to the boiler. At this point, a gas valve reset can be performed. Turn the throttle screw clockwise until it is fully open. From the fully open position, go 4 turns counterclockwise to set the valve to an approximate factory starting point. Once that is complete, perform a high fire combustion test. If the burner will not light, turn the screw clockwise 1 to 4 turns to attempt to get ignition. After completing the high fire combustion test, the next step will be to do a low fire reset. Loosen the screw 2 turns over the R test port. Connect the manometer here. Remove the cap covering the low fire adjustment screw using a Torx T40 screwdriver. Run the boiler in its minimum power test mode. Press and hold the test button. Once test mode is activated, hit the minus button twice so that you see both the central heating and domestic hot water icon on the screen. Allow the boiler to modulate to minimum fire. Then, using the adjustment screw, set the gas pressure to 0 inches water column. Clockwise turns will raise the pressure, counterclockwise turns will lower the pressure. If the boiler is still not lighting, start by inspecting the Venturi orifices. The gas line must be removed from the Venturi. Use care not to lose the gasket as it will be required for reassembly. There are 3 screws securing the Venturi to the blower assembly. Once these are removed, the Venturi can be taken off the boiler. After the Venturi is removed, take off the 2 screws that hold the Venturi insert into the aluminum housing. Then, using firm pressure and your thumbs, press the Venturi insert out of the Venturi so the orifices can be inspected. These orifices should be bright and shiny and clean yellow brass or a silver color. Any contamination at all is a reason to replace the Venturi insert. A dirty or poorly maintained boiler will cause ignition problems. Before cleaning the boiler, ensure the electrical panel is covered up. Use some rags if needed to prevent water from getting into it. Remove the wires from the flame rod igniter and the blower motor. Then remove the 10mm burner door nuts. Set them to one side. They're required for reassembly. Once the nuts have been removed, remove the burner door and blower assembly as one piece. Burner door is off. Inspect the refractory for cracks, damage, or watermarks. Look at the gap between the igniter and flame rod and the burner itself. Also inspect the burner for signs of clogging or dirt or debris. Using a cleaning tool like the NTI Boiler cleaning tool or a thin metal or plastic card, scrape between the tubing to ensure that there is no debris. Using large amounts of water, spray down the inside of the boiler and scrub it with water, and use a scrub brush such as this or the NTI cleaning brush to scrub the interior of the boiler until it is thoroughly clean. Use large amounts of water to rinse any loose debris down into the condensate drain. Ensure that you clean out the condensate drain before leaving the job site. Spraying down the interior of the boiler with white vinegar will help prolong the life of the heat exchanger. Make sure to rinse the vinegar out before proceeding. If it is suspected that the burner is dirty, the burner may be cleaned by vacuuming it out and rinsing it thoroughly with water. This procedure should be done every 2 or 3 services to ensure the burner is in good condition. Before reassembling the boiler, ensure the cleaning disc is removed. Once the boiler is fully assembled, perform a combustion test. Use care not to over-tighten the burner door nuts. They require no more than 5 pound-feet to torque properly. Reconnect all of the wires. Reinstall the gas line O-ring, then tighten the gas line at both the gas valve and the Venturi connection. Reinstall the air intake silencer, then perform a combustion test at high and at low fire.